All right, buckle up, because today we're diving into a case that's both fascinating and truly, truly disturbing. It's the murder of Christine Jessop.
Yeah, this one is heavy.
We've got, let me see, court transcripts, tons of investigative reports, even some personal stories from people, people close to the case.
Oh, wow.
It's wild, twists and turns. And, ultimately how science, finally brought out the truth. But here's the thing, and this is what, really got me. The guy they originally convicted, Guy Paul Morin.
Yeah, I know about this case.
He spent years in prison. But then, get this, DNA evidence proved he was innocent. Totally innocent. Can you believe that?
It really highlights the limits of our justice systems, doesn't it?
Totally. It's a total game changer, not just for Morin and, the Jessop family, but for how cases are handled even today.
Absolutely. It forced a complete reassessment of, investigation techniques, the whole role of forensic science, and of course the just devastating impact of wrongful convictions. How do you even come back from that?
Right. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Who was Christine Jessop?
So Christine was 9 years old, lived in Queensville, Ontario. Small town, everybody knows everybody kind of place, loved animals, had a close family, parents, an older brother, just a normal, happy kid.
But then, boom, everything changes. October 3rd, 1984, what happened?
So just picture it. It's, a normal afternoon. Christine's leaving school, heading to the park to meet up with a friend, and she just never makes it. Disappears, vanishes into thin air.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And the search, it was instant, massive. Her family, the police, everyone in the community searching everywhere, every inch, hoping, praying for a miracle.
I bet. So 3 months of just not knowing. And then just as the year's ending, on December 31st, 1984, they find her.
Yeah. Her body was discovered in a field, miles from her home. Can you imagine that moment? Just devastating for everyone.
Absolutely devastating. And what did the autopsy show?
It's tough. The autopsy showed that Christine had been sexually assaulted and stabbed multiple times. Oh. Brutal. Just senseless.
Oh, man. I bet people were outraged.
Oh, yeah. This was huge news. Everyone was demanding answers, justice for Christine. And so that's when the investigation took a turn that, looking back, is just, it's almost unbelievable.
What do you mean?
Well, they focused on her neighbor, Guy Paul Morin. And remember, this is way before DNA evidence was a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So back then, just being near the crime and, acting a little differently than usual, that was often enough to make you the main suspect. And with Morin, there really wasn't any strong physical evidence connecting him to the scene.
But he was still arrested.
Yeah, and put on trial. And, get this, in 1992, convicted of Christine's murder.
But you just said there wasn't any evidence.
I know. It's really hard to wrap your head around. Part of it was that, back then they relied a lot on these forensic techniques that, we know now they weren't very reliable. Hair microscopy, it was considered super advanced at the time, but it's so subjective, prone to errors.
Wow. So what else besides, the bad science?
Eyewitness testimony was a factor. And, it's uncomfortable to admit, but there were probably some unconscious biases at play too.
Yeah. So then 3 years later, everything changes again. 1995, DNA testing is getting more advanced, and it proves Morin is innocent.
Finally, he was exonerated. But think about it. He'd already lost years of his life. Years.
Yeah.
For a crime he didn't commit.
It's just awful.
It really exposed how, the justice system, how it could be so wrong, make these terrible mistakes. And for Christine's family, it was like a double whammy to learn that the wrong person had been punished. And the real killer was still out there.
Unbelievable.
Right.
So the case stayed open, right? For decades.
Decades. And the Jessop family, they never stopped searching for answers.
Until 2020. What happened in 2020?
Breakthrough. A huge breakthrough. DNA technology had advanced even more. This technique called genetic genealogy. And using that, investigators were able to identify the person whose DNA was at the crime scene, Calvin Hoover.
Wait, Calvin Hoover. Who was he?
Someone the Jessop family knew. An acquaintance.
Oh, no. Someone they knew. But wait, if they found his DNA in 2020, why wasn't he, put on trial?
Tragically, Hoover had already passed away. Couldn't be brought to trial.
So, it's a resolution, but kind of a bittersweet one.
Yeah. As horrible as this whole case was, it really did change things. It pushed for better DNA technology, stricter rules for investigations, and I think just made everyone a lot more aware of how wrongful convictions can happen.
It's a powerful reminder. We always need to be questioning, reevaluating our systems, challenging our assumptions to make sure that justice is served. It makes you wonder How many other cases before DNA testing was so common, how many other cases got it wrong?
Yeah. How many other Guy Paul Morans are out there? It's something to think about.
Couldn't agree more.